We play and call it work.
Hey folks, Janene from MiniWarGaming here with another how-to video for ya. In this video, we are going to continue working on this Kharn the Betrayer mini, and we are going to paint the skulls that are hanging off of his armor and also the ones that are in his helmet. As always, if you have suggestions for something you'd like to see in a future how-to video, please leave them down below in the comments. Now, we have a very bright red armor on this Kharn mini, and so we want to make sure that our skulls aren't too warm. So we are going to do a slightly cool toned brown look on these skulls, just so that they contrast a little bit more and they don't just blend right into the armor. We're going to begin with the color Still Legion Drab. We want to make sure that it's mixed with a little bit of Lamian Medium. And we want to paint this all over all of the skull area. We're going to make sure that we have a nice thin paint with a really good flow to it. But that does mean that it's going to take us a couple layers to get a really nice solid color. And that's totally fine. It's better to paint multiple small layers than applying it too thickly and having brush strokes or losing any detail in your paint. So we're just going to paint all of the skulls that are hanging off of these metal chains. There's also a large skull on the belt of the armor and two on the knees as well. And then on the helmet, there's a large skull section that we're going to paint with this color. And then as we move on to the backpack, there's two skulls on the side of the backpack. I went ahead and painted this whole area, including the lower jaw. However, after looking closely, you can tell that the lower jaw is actually made from a different material, and so I'm going to go ahead and paint that a different color just to give some more contrast and some more interest to this section of the armor. Now that we have everything coated with that Still Legion Drab, we're going to highlight it with the color Xandri Dust. With these really teeny skulls on the helmet, I want to make sure that I'm not necessarily making that area too busy, so I'm just going to highlight the very large section that is the forehead of each of these teeny tiny skulls. For all of the other skulls, since I have a little bit of a larger area to work with, I'm going to be painting this color over most of that bone area, leaving a little bit of my darker brown in the recesses of the temples, the eye sockets, right underneath the cheekbone, and just a few areas that we want to remain in a little bit more shadow. That's going to make it so that we keep a little bit of dimension and make the shape of the skull really round and really interesting. After that Xandri Dust highlight, our next highlight is going to be with Carrick Stone. This is another slightly cool toned brown color, a little bit more gray than really bright, rich brown. And we're going to use this color to begin to accentuate the roundness of the bone like we did with our last color. We're really picking out the high points on all of these skulls, really exaggerating the area where the light would be hitting it more, and the high points like the top of the eye sockets, the top of the cheekbones, that nose ridge, the areas that we want to have stand out. Again, this color is mixed with Lamian Medium. I've done that with all of my colors, and that's just going to help me apply them in a really smooth way so they're not too thick. And also having a little bit of transparency in my paint helps me blend the colors together a little bit. One technique that I like to use a lot is I will apply the color where I want it to be, and then I will quickly wipe my brush off on a paper towel just to remove a little bit of the moisture and a little bit of the paint. And I'll go back with that slightly drier brush and kind of fiddle with that transition line a little bit. Our next color is Tbone. I don't need to use a lot of this color to really brighten the high points of the skull. And I'm applying this as more of a line highlight to a few areas just to really accentuate those sections and make them stand out even more. I'm really just using this color to pick out the very highest points on the bone and make them stand out the most. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of Nuln Oil, And I'm applying this to the bottom of each of these skulls just to deepen that shadow and give it another level of darkness. I'm not using Agrax Earth Shade, which is the shade that I typically use for bones, because again, I want to keep these colors really muted and cool so that they contrast a little bit with the really warm elements on the armor. However, with this area on the helmet, I'm going to do something a lot different. I'm going to be using a couple shades in a glaze. I'm going to use the color Bloodletter, the color Carroburg Crimson, and Druchii Violet. And I'm going to apply all of these at the same time. I'm doing this because on the traditional Kharn model, if you look at these skulls on this helmet section, they're not really a bone color. They're kind of more of a bright, fiery red-orange. And I don't necessarily want to do that, but I do want these to have a little bit of a red cast. So I'm going to apply this Bloodletter to the top area on this helmet, and then about 2/3 of the way down, I'm going to apply the Carroburg Crimson. I want to make sure that I do this while it's wet so that the two areas blend in together. And then on the very lowest section, like the last 1/8 of this bone area, I'm just applying a little bit of the Druchii Violet to add a final dark shadow. This is going to make all these bones look a little bit red and kind of blend into the red of the armor, while still having a little bit of that bone color peek through a little bit. Alright, and after those shades have dried, all of the bone on this Kharn mini is complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more how-to videos, I have another one where I go through the steps of painting the red armor on this mini in the MiniWarGaming Vault in the link down below in the description. If you don't already have a Vault membership, you can go ahead and click the link, sign up for a 7-day free trial, and get access to my video, as well as hundreds of other videos in the MiniWarGaming Vault. So go ahead, click the link, start your free trial, and happy wargaming!